Shalom. I am Bon Shemayim, back with another one. Today's title is going to be The Black Caucus Vetoes Reparations. So we're going to be discussing how, and I want y'all to get this insight about how they were trying to pass reparations laws in California. They had the whole Black Caucus on board, or most of them. They had enough votes to get it passed, to get it in front of the governor's desk. Last second they put out. It didn't make any sense to me. So I took some clips so that you guys could see the truth. I want to give a shout out to Roland. Free use, fair use, free use for this content. And let's get it. And shout out to Roland Martin. If you want to see the whole interview, I got a lot of these clips from his channel. And please watch to the end of this video. I am going to go through some scriptures that I believe the Bible shows that God believes in reparations and repair of things that were done to people, right? So I'm going to go through some scriptures at the end of this. So I hope y'all tune in into the part where we could get into these scriptures. On that note, thank y'all for watching the video, and I hope y'all enjoy it.
These are their bills. They have their names on the bills. They killing their own bills because they scared of the government. Now, listen, they gonna see this and they gonna get mad at us. They killing their own bills, then they gonna get mad at us. They killing their own bills because they scared of the government. We don't care.
We need to bring
the goddamn bills up now.
The governor needs to understand that the world is watching California, and this is going to have a direct impact on your friend Kamala Harris, who's running for president. This is going to have a direct impact. So pull up the bills now, vote on them, and sign them.
We have
We've been waiting for over 400 years.
In the state of California is the very essence of political cowardliness in regard to the reparations bill, which should have been signed by the governor and that now is not just being delayed primarily by the Black Caucus, but put off, postponed with another commission, another investigation. That's the last thing we need. We need action.
Tonight is the final night of California's legislative session. State lawmakers have until midnight tonight to pass proposed laws for the year. Ahead of the deadline, advocates for reparations for Black Californians have been protesting all day as lawmakers plan to block two key bills for that effort. KCRA 3 Capitol correspondent Ashley Zavala is live at the state capitol right now with what's happening. Ashley?
That's right, Orko. This has been the big story mainly all day here. California's Legislative Black Caucus, which represents the black members of the state legislature, confirmed that lawmakers will not move forward with those two key proposals. The first, SB 1403, which would establish a state agency to oversee the state's reparations efforts. The other, SB 1331, that would establish a state fund for reparations. So the blocking of these bills has angered protesters who've been in the Capitol Rotunda all day, yelling at lawmakers in the assembly to bring the bills up for a vote. State Senator Stephen Bradford said Governor Newsom's office asked him to make changes to the bill that would establish the state agency and to instead turn it into a study of reparations recommendations by the University of California. Bradford would not accept the changes, and he says the Legislative Black Caucus is afraid of the veto. But the leader of the Legislative Black Caucus, Assemblymember Lori Wilson, denied this. Bradford told us, though, the bills have the votes.
We're at the finish line. And I think we as a Black Caucus owe it to the descendants of chattel slavery. We owe it to Black Californians and Black Americans to move this legislation forward and get it to the governor's desk.
Now, nothing is final until the gavel drops here at midnight, but it's unlikely that these bills will come up for a vote.
Things got heated in California where activists who supported reparations there thought they were on the cusp of getting some of the most ambitious reparations legislation in American history. Then all of a sudden, it fell apart. The California Legislative Black Caucus released a statement saying that they were pulling the bills for some reason. They haven't really explained it. So, Senator Bradford, first of all, so explain to people how many bills there were.
There were 14 bills that were introduced that were considered the Black Caucus, legislative Black Caucus priority bills. There was a few more that weren't deemed priority, but the ones identified for the caucus that we all supported unanimously, I should say, it was 14.
Okay, so there were 14 bills. So you're in the Senate. What got through the House?
What got all the way to the governor's desk?
In terms of what got through the House, and then you were hoping it was going to get through the Senate?
Well, my bills got through the Senate. My bills got all the way through the Senate. They got all the way through the Assembly. Through the last committee that they faced, policy committee, was appropriations. And to get out of appropriations without a single amendment, we figured we had no problems when it reached the floor. We had done a vote count, as again, I had 1403, which would stand up the American Freedmen Affairs Agency, 1050, which would have dealt with the racially motivated taking of property through eminent domain, similar to what I did 3 years ago with Bruce's Beach and returning that property. And then we had SB 1331, which would create a funding mechanism and foundation for reparations going forward, not requiring state money. We would look at federal money, philanthropic money, other means other than state money, since we were in a deficit situation. So those were my three bills.
Broke loose. And this is a video here of one of the activists who was speaking outside of the assembly. Watch this.
The bills up now, these are their bills. They have their names on the bills. They killing their own bills because they scared of the government. Now, listen, they gonna see this and they gonna get mad at us. They killing their own bills, then they gonna get mad at us. They killing their own bills because they scared of the government. Okay? We don't care.
We need to send a message
the goddamn bills up now.
The governor needs to understand that the world is watching California, and this is going to have a direct impact on your friend Kamala Harris, who's running for president. This is going to have a direct impact. So pull up the bills now, vote on them, and sign them.
We have
We've been waiting for over 400 years.
All right. What happened? You make it clear. You had the votes. What happened?
I got notice when I was in Chicago 2 weeks ago at the Democratic National Convention by Chair Lori Wilson of the Black Caucus. I'm the vice chair. She pulled me to the side while I was in Chicago and she says, hey, we've heard word that the administration might have problems with 1403. That was the only bill that we heard. 1403, again, that was the foundation for standing up the agency. And I said, oh, that's news to me. No one from the administration has contacted me. And I says, what might be some of those concerns? And she wasn't specific. And so I did what I naturally would have done. I picked up the phone. I called my chief of staff. I called my legislative director and asked them were they aware of any of those issues, and they said no. And upon my return on Friday, we had a Zoom meeting with the director of finance for the state of California, and he explained what those concerns were. Joe Steppenshaw, who's a stand-up guy, and he just said, hey, Mr. Bradford, under these tough budgetary deficit year, we have some problems with standing up the agency, and we just have some concerns. No time did they say they were going to veto the bill. They just said we had some concerns and they were going to offer up some amendments. He had nothing concrete at that time. So I says, hey, let me see what you come up with and we'll consider it. And fast forward to the next week, Monday, this past Monday, we were on the floor because we're in the last week of session. So we were going late every night. By the time I got a notice from my chief of staff and legislative director around 5 o'clock, they said, we have the amendments. And they're saying, I'm recommending you not take the amendments. And that was our position. We felt the amendments kind of like watered down the bill and it created a study. So we said no to those amendments. And I think that's pretty much what got us here today. Because again, but no time did the governor or anyone in his administration say we're going to veto the bill. So the fear of a veto, I believe, caused members to say, let's hold the bills.
Okay, so here's what I don't understand. If you pass it and he vetoes it, that's on him. By shutting it down, now it's on them. It's on the Black Caucus. And so I don't understand. I mean, you're a legislator. The governor has the right to veto bills. You pass the damn bill and then go, all right, let's see what you're going to do.
I agree. We vetoed our own bill in essence. I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years in the legislature, and it's not the first time. I worked with Governors Schwarzenegger, Brown, and now Newsom, and they've all at some point I've had a bill where they say, hey, we got problems with it, and let's see if we can fix it. And we either come to agreement or we don't. I had a bill last year dealing with social equity with cannabis, and his point person on cannabis met with me and says, hey, Mr. Bradford, we got problems with the bill. We want you to take these amendments. And I looked at him and I said, no, I can't take them. And we moved the bill to his desk. He signed that bill. 4 years ago, as you well know, I was the joint author on NIL. It was tremendous pressure for that bill not to reach the governor's desk. From Emirates of NC2A, everybody was saying, hold the bill, don't get it to his desk. We got it to his desk. There was also a threat of a veto there. But what did he do? Not only did he signed it on LeBron James' show the shop. So the threat or even this saying that you have trouble was no reason to hold this bill. So I'm just disappointed that it didn't get to the finish line because we were there. And we had done a vote count on my both of my bills, all three of my bills, and we were standing at 50 plus votes.
So you had the votes. So what happened where it didn't move forward? So you're saying that the California Legislative Black Caucus as a body, they're the ones who stopped the bill from moving forward?
They expressed concerns of not bringing it up on the floor. And so, I'm a member of the caucus. I got outvoted and my bills were held.
So here's what I'm confused. Go to my iPad, Henry. So they released this statement here on August 31st, and they said there's been interest regarding the status of Senate Bill 1403. The caucus was unable to participate in the legislative process collectively and only recently became aware of the concerns and issues with the bill. First of all, what the hell does that mean? That they were unable to participate? I'm sorry, y'all, that task force, they've had hearings. We've covered it. We've had the co-chair on. Where in the hell have they been?
And again, I wasn't made aware of their problems with the bills until last week, again, when I was in Chicago, by the chair of the caucus.
So wait a minute. You're literally, aren't you the co-chair of the task force?
No, I was co-chair of Legislative Black Caucus. But
No, I'm sorry, but you were working with the Reparations Task Force, right?
I'm following the guidelines and the recommendations from the 1,100-page report, yes.
Right, so, but I'm saying you were part of that process.
Yes, I was, for 2 years.
They were aware that process was going on, right?
Yeah, for 2 years we had.
They were aware that bills came out of that 1,100-page report.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, when did you first put the bill together?
I introduced the bill. I did a gut and amend last year.
When last year?
I think like July.
Okay, so you mean to tell me, so from July 2023, the other members of the Black Caucus, until August of 2024, they didn't say nothing about the bill until right before it's going to hit the floor to get passed?
They mentioned some concerns about the bill at the first part of this year, but again, in May, they all signed on as joint co-authors of the bill. And the language hasn't changed from the time.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Hold up. They signed on as joint co-authors of the bill in May. The language hasn't changed. And now all of a sudden in August, hold up, we got some issues.
Yeah, it's the same bill because I didn't take the amendments. I can understand if I had taken amendments, but I guess you're saying they weren't aware of the amendments. We weren't aware of the amendments till, like I say, after 5 o'clock on Monday of this final week. And once we had a chance to digest them and look at them as my staff would do, we sent them out the next day or the day after to every member of the Black Caucus. We sent those amendments out and showed where we had concerns with them.
So I go back to their statement. In its current form, one of the primary concerns with the bill is that it ceded legislative oversight authority, which is critical given the generational impact this legislation would have. What are they talking about?
Seeing that it would take away legislative insider input and and deciding what reparations would be, or the task force, or having to. That's not the case, because again, this is the bill. It hasn't changed that they agreed to be co-authors on. So if it exceeded it today, it's exceeded it then when they signed onto the bill. The language has not changed. The language has not changed. And we were true to that. I've been an honest broker for all 25 years of my elected officials life, 14 in the legislature. And I don't hide the ball. And I show up every day and I do the work. And my bill had not changed. Again, I stood firm. I mean, for it to get out of appropriations, Assembly appropriations and Senate appropriations with no amendments on it, stated that it had a lot of support.
Okay, so the first scripture we going into is Exodus 21. We're going to go through 1 through 11, right? So let's get it. It says, "Now, these are the judgment which thou shalt bring before them. If thou buy an Hebrew servant 6 years, he shall serve. And in the 7th, he shall go out free of nothing." And I wanted to touch down on this really quick because that's important. Y'all got to understand this. That means that you bought a slave because he was in debt. You covered his debt. So this is what the Bible is saying about it. People always say that the Bible talks about slavery. You bought a slave, you covered his debt. On the 7th year, he's free. He leaves out from you free with no debt. Anything he owed previously to anybody is covered. You were the person who covered it, right? So this was the letting him go free was a repair. It was reparations, right? I'm continue reading this scripture. I just wanted to stop and post that and let y'all get that point out. It says, "If he came in by himself, he shall go out by himself. If he were married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master hath given him a wife, and she hath borne him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out by himself. And if the servant shall plainly say, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him unto the judges. He shall also bring him to the door, or unto the doorpost, and his master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall serve him forever. And if this man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as a manservant." Now, I wanted y'all to get that because we wear earrings as a fashion trend. And he's saying that the earrings was a staple mate, showing that a person had served their time and did not want to be let go. They did not want to be free. They wanted to stay with their master. They wanted to keep their children. They wanted to keep their wife. They wanted to keep the situation that their master had set up in coordinates for them. And they did not want to leave that situation. And that is where the earring would be installed. "And if a man sell his daughter to be a maidservant, she shall not go out as the manservants do. If she please not her master, who hath betrothed her to himself, then shall he let her be redeemed. To sell her unto a strange nation, he shall have no power, seeing he hath dealt deceitfully with her. And if he betroth her unto his son, he shall deal with her after the manner of daughters. If he take him another wife, her food, her raiment, and her duty of marriage shall he not diminish. And if he do not these unto her, then shall she go out free without money." Right? So this was even for the women. It's saying that if he take him a woman, right, he got to marry her or betroth her to another man. And if he don't do it right and he deal with her deceitfully, he must sell her to a strange nation. He has no power over the ordeal, right? So if he do it wrong, he have no power over her. He got to let her go. Now, if he betroth her to his son, if he let her marry his son, he got to treat her as a daughter in all manners, right? And if he take another wife, so he married the one slave servant, but then he takes another wife, he shall not slacken his duties of marriage, right? They shall not be diminished. He got to take care of that entirely. And if he do not these things unto her, he got to let her go free without money. And a lot of the times, all we hear is the money part. but we don't hear to let them go free. Free means without debt. A lot of the times, slavery, when people say that God agrees with slavery, the Bible agrees with slavery, that was a way to get people out of their debt, to get people out of the bonds they owed so that people could survive, right? The Bible says the poor will be with you always. This next scripture is Leviticus 5. We're going to start at 15. It says, if a soul commit a trespass and sin through ignorance in the holy thing of the Lord, then he shall bring for his trespass unto the Lord a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with the estimation by shekels of silver after the shekel of the sanctuary, for a trespass offering. And if he shall make amends for the harm that he have done in the holy thing, and add the fifth part thereunto, and give it unto the priest, and the priest shall make an atonement for him with the ram of the trespass offering, and it shall be forgiven him. And if a soul sin and commit any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of the Lord, though he wist it not, yet he is guilty, and shall bear his iniquity. And he shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with thy estimation, for a trespass offering unto the priest. And the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his ignorance, wherein he erred and wist it not, and it shall be forgiven him. It is a trespass offering. He hath certainly trespassed against the Lord, right? So even in the law, it shows, these were both out of the law, Leviticus and Exodus. It shows that when we took on a slave, there was a freedom that came to that. There was a repair that came for you taking him on or taking her on. You had to clear their debt, and they were your responsibility. Also, this is showing that when a person trespassed against the Lord or did something against the Lord, there was reparations that had to be made through the law to repair that, even if they did it out of ignorance. So these were the first two scriptures that I wanted to go into to break down that the Bible even supports reparations. The next one we're going into is Luke. Okay, so this is Luke 19, and we're going to go 1 through 10, right? And Yeshua entered and passed through Jericho. And behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, which was the chief among the publicans, and he was rich. And he sought to see Yeshua, who he was, and could not for the press, because he was little of stature. And he ran before and climbed up into the sycamore tree to see him, for he was passed that way. And when Yeshua came to the place, he looked up and saw him, and said unto him, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must abide at thy house. And he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. Right? So we're about to go into how even in the New Testament, it showed that there needed to be some type of repair. Right? So we're about to go into the next part of Luke. We're going to finish it off. All right. So we're going to continue with 7. And when they saw it, they all murmured, saying that he was gone to be a guest with a man that is a sinner. And Zacchaeus stood and said unto the Lord, Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give unto the poor. And if I have taken anything from any man by false accusation, I restore him fourfold. And Yeshua said unto him, This day is salvation come to this house, for so as much as he also is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which is lost. Right? So this is important because of what? He shows that, listen, I know I made some mistakes, but I'm trying to repair the mistakes I made. And that's what reparation is to repair. You made mistakes. Now you got to repair what you made a mistake from. By them constantly trying to act like we don't deserve reparations, all they're doing is saying that they didn't make a mistake. Now, these are things that are facts. Do you know that the Japanese received reparations for what happened in World War II? I believe it was in 1988 they received reparation, right? The Jewish people received reparations, and they still receive reparations in help as a state from multiple states because of what happened to them throughout history. Wow, what happened to us, God's people, what happened to God's people, the world is looking like, why do y'all need a hand? Why do y'all need a handout? Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And that's why he told them when they were in Egypt to borrow from the Egyptians. Why would God tell them to borrow from the Egyptians knowing that he was about to take them out of Egypt? That was a form of their reparations. That wealth and the animals and everything that they took into the wilderness was how they survived. If we go through the Bible, there was very few times in the wilderness that God really had to like, he had to help Moses when he struck the rock and the water came out, right? That was God. He had to split the Red Sea. That was God. There was a lot he did to take them there, right? But there was only 2 times, remember, right? With the manna, when the manna fell from the heavens, right? The food from the heavens fell down that time. And there was another time where he helped them with the doves. Other than those 2 times, when they left Egypt, they had enough food and wealth and everything with them to build the ark, to do everything that they did to praise and to show God their love and their belief in him by serving him in the manner he told Moses that they had to serve him, by creating the ark, creating the covenants, creating everything that they had set up under Moses. They did and followed. Not all of them, as we know, some of them got wiped out, but for the most part, they did and followed. So, and I'm going to say this again. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. There's a lot of black people who are considered black because if you're dark shaded, no matter where you are in the world, you're considered black. But there's difference from being a dark shaded black person and being a black person that's from the black culture. The people who were, their ancestors served slavery, their history was taken away. They've had years, hundreds of years of slavery and Jim Crow and all of these things to go against them. There's 2 different types of black people. And I'm not going to call them out by name, but I'm sure if y'all do your research, most of these entertainers, and not most of them, but there's a lot of these entertainers, a lot of these famous people who talk about black issues and talk about the black community, they're not really black. They're black in color, but they're not black in culture. They come from Ethiopia or from Nigeria. They're second generation immigrants. They weren't born through the diaspora, through the slave diaspora that we went through. They didn't go through these things. So when they mention them or speak on them, they have no account for them. And a lot of these people aren't us. They could be Ethiopian, Nigerian. I'm not saying some Nigerians are us, but there are some Nigerians that are not us. So it's important to know these things. We were sold into slavery by black people. Not all black people are the same. So if we can see it plain and clear, the Black Caucus denied this. They vetoed their own bill for reparations. Not the governor. They could have signed it, got it passed, and put it on the governor's desk and let the governor veto it the way he's supposed to. If he decides to, then it falls on the governor. Instead, they covered the governor. Instead of making the governor look bad, which he already looked bad, look at California. Instead of making him look even worse, Governor Newsom, they instead put the blame on themselves by vetoing their own bill. On that note, I just want to say Shalom and Barakatah. Shalom means peaceful greetings. Barakatah means bless you. The Wada, thank you for tuning in to the video. And leave some comments. I will be going back and looking at all the comments that you've been making the last few weeks because I've had a tough couple weeks and I've been quite busy with doctors and all of this other stuff, and got exhausted after that first reparations video, and the white guy was just spamming the chat with all type of madness. So I will be looking at those and responding soon. Until the next time, peace out.